The recent exchange of criticisms between Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage shouldn't be seen as entirely one-sided. Boris, the other day, criticised Nigel Farage as a Putin enabler, but of course, the point is that, and Farage is too clever to have let this one slip. Farage has gone back through Boris's endless articles and found that Boris is as guilty as Farage is. And as I pointed out this morning, it doesn't matter who you think is in the wrong, who you think is in the right. You should listen to people, because even when somebody is your arch enemy, they often say things which are truthful. As I pointed out earlier, even the devil speaks truth. Somebody can't lie endlessly. Someone can't constantly be telling untruths. Mixed in with the deceit, there is always truth. It's just a matter of locating it. And even people who you don't like often have good advice. It may be spitefully intended, but it may still be good advice. So the question is about Boris and Farage both talking about the role of the EU in the Ukraine, in stimulating the Ukraine crisis. In 2016, during the Brexit campaign, Johnson blamed the EU for provoking Russia's earlier aggression in Ukraine, in Crimea, calling the EU a force for instability. And this stance drew significant criticism and comparisons to Farage and other right-wing leaders in Europe like Marine Le Pen. Johnson's comments were seen as aligning with Russian interests, which prompted accusations of his being a Putin apologist from figures such as the former Labour Foreign Secretary Jack Straw. In contrast, Johnson now positions himself as a Western advocate, a leading Western advocate against Russia's invasion of Ukraine, a friend of Zelensky, supporting military aid and sanctions. And this shift has been met with scepticism by Farage, of course, with critics arguing that his past remarks and Brexit advocacy have undermined both the EU and the UK's global standing. Of course they have. Farage, consistent in his critique of the West's actions, continues to blame NATO and the EU for instigating Russian aggression, though he acknowledged misjudging the immediacy of the threat. It's a matter of quality rather than quantity. The broader implications of these debates reveal the fragility of Western unity and the strategic opportunities it provides to adversaries like Russia. The UK's departure from the EU has, according to critics, weakened the bloc. Of course it has. Of course it has. But more than that, it has distracted the bloc for years and years and years, and Britain has turned inward to be introspective, to be self-obsessed, to be onanistic, particularly in the Conservative Party and among the reform advocates, the reform devotees, the reform cultists. And this has weakened the West and diminished the UK's influence in global affairs. How can it not do? Somebody said to me, you criticise Brexit. Do you have a good example of what Brexit has done? Yes, it has diminished us. And more than that, it was always going to diminish us. The ongoing criticisms and the political manoeuvres reflect deeper divisions and the complex international interplay of politics. And if Farage admits it had been wrong to dismiss warnings of an invasion, the former Brexit Party leader nevertheless points to the expansion of the Western military alliance and the EU as the cause. He says he's just wrong. He's just wrong. And both of them Both of them are quite rightly called out for their excessive and intemperate words. Both of them. So both of them are right, and both of them are wrong. And I think that's really quite a good position to draw the debate almost to a conclusion. We've only got an hour to go before the polling stations close. We're coming up to 8 o'clock. Actually, we're coming up to 9 o'clock, sorry. And the polling stations close at 10. And there's celebrities running all over the place saying, do make sure you vote. I suppose I should do the same sort of thing, but I'm cautious to do so because I was thinking of not voting today. And it's only because I was cajoled by a friend that in fact by a former student, that I thought better of it. I'm not even sure I did the right thing. Because I don't know in my local constituency who is worth voting for. And in the end, you don't vote for a national party, you vote for a local constituency MP. And I'm not sure I trust any of the people who are standing in my area. So I made a stab at it. I mean, I would not have voted for reform, but that left a few, and I made a stab. And also, the Conservative candidate is a new candidate. I wasn't going to vote for him unless I'd heard from him. I didn't hear from him, so he didn't get my vote. There you are. I've given you a hint of where I went, but I certainly don't intend to betray my voting decision today. Certainly not before the polls close, before the polling stations close this evening. But I think both Reform and the Conservatives have a lot to answer for in the way this country has been disturbed and unsettled. And it's one word which needs explaining: Brexit.